you have to learn to appreciate how things shape out and how things are. And I think I need to again thank all the illustrious panelists here who have actually taken out their time early morning on a Saturday for all of us to understand and listen to what is going behind the scenes. Because out to be making it a practical aspect is not easy. But in the last 2 years, that is what has happened across the spectrum of the industries. Every industry has slowly and steadily adopted that AI into their systems, has actually managed to put their working into a better format, have actually started training their people to get accustomed to the change and make sure that things can be done in a better manner. So, all of us need to actually pull up our socks and be a party to that learning curve which is there. So, I am not going to take time. I'm going to invite Somani sir to quickly inaugurate the event, and we can then proceed on with the rest of the day's proceedings. Sir.
So hello everybody. We've already lost 15 minutes, so I'll keep this as brief as possible. So about a month ago, we had the Vishwa AI Conclave, and three things emerged from that conclave. One, that AI is here to stay. Two, that we should not be afraid of AI. And three, that we should not be slave to AI. We should be actually use AI as our partner, as our companion, as our affiliate. Having realized that and having embedded that in ourselves, this was a natural follow-up summit. And therefore, it is important that, well, yes, responsible AI is the way forward for all of us. And this summit is a part of that effort so that we as an institute, you as a student, our faculty, collectively, we make the best use of AI. We're going to have very interesting discussions, meaningful discussions during the next 2-3 hours. So I welcome all the participants, all the guests, all the speakers for this summit, and let's have a great day today. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. We're going to start with the first panel. As I said, we're going to be trying to be on time. So we're going to start the first panel, and the first panel indulges in something very, very interesting. All of us know what AI has been doing and what Grok has been suffering from, the deep fake situations which are there, and how a misaligned and a misrepresented data situation has been floating around due to the AI. So we are going to be talking about, and we are going to be discussing about how this is something which is creating perhaps a negative perception about AI. What is it causing to have probably a scenario in which people are probably scared of using AI or are reluctant in using AI? So we have our first panel lined up to discuss that situation out. So I'm going to invite our first panelists on the stage. So I'm going to start with inviting Ms. Shweta Arya. Shweta, ma'am, has been the head of HR CHRO with Domino's, and I'm sure she's going to take you through how AI is being used at Domino's. I know all of you know Domino's, right? Right? I know what is the next question. Sir, party kab de rahe ho? Good. So the second panelist that we have is Mr. Vikas. Mr. Vikas has been running his own AI technology enterprise and is involved into deep learning and how AI is being implemented across industries. Our third panelist is Mr. Sudhir. Mr. Sudhir is a Chief Operating Officer with the Fourth Square. He's a 24-year experienced global exposure gentleman who's, I'm sure, adopted AI into all the formats. So we're going to have the honor of listening to him. And we have Mr. Sandeep joining us as the fourth panelist. Mr. Sandeep runs every aspect of our lives. So pay attention, and I'm sure it's going to be a very, very enriching panel discussion. Thank you.
So we begin. We begin this panel discussion bothering all of us, and which is deep fake. So I would start with you, Shweta, because yours is the first name. So are we entering a post-trust digital area where we are seeing and hearing and no longer believing? What does it look like in a AI generated content view?
Okay, I think it's a very wide topic. And the way I see it, AI has simplified our day to day life in ways that was unthinkable just a few years back. Like, I think everybody, when they think of AI, even in the multiple organizations that I have worked across, since the time I started working to where I am today, I think a lot of things that I learned doing in the beginning of my career have been replaced completely. I'm no longer required to do that. And what it puts a lot of us through is how do we stay relevant also. So one aspect of so much of digitization, so much of information overload, so much of inciting, so much of repeatable tasks completely taken away has put a lot of onus on us on thinking about how are we adding value when a lot of what we were familiar with doing is taken away. So that's for me is the biggest from an HR perspective, from people perspective, even from employability perspective. I think concepts, things that we were, at least what I had learned when I went to campus, which is almost 16, 17 years back, is no longer applicable. I think we used to thrive a lot on just remembering a lot of concepts and putting a lot of that to use. A lot of that is completely taken away. That actually scares me also at times for myself and a lot of other people who I see in workforce. If people are not evolving with time and not really thinking about how are they adding value, a lot of that will be taken away. That is the biggest threat that I think in at a larger mass scale AI has put through. But from an organization's perspective, I think again AI can throw up 10,000 examples if I just put use cases of where AI has failed us. So I don't want to get into already available mass available information with all of us, where organizations had in a hurry to really put a lot of AI tools to use, which were not very responsibly thought through, which actually impacted their own the way they did their operations, but also a lot of adverse impact on the users of it, consumers of it. And I'll in my personal capacity, I would like to share an example. I don't want to talk about some other organization, but one of the places where I worked, I think that there was a large chunk of hiring which we used to do manually. At least the CVs parsing used to be done by people involved. and we realize there's an opportunity. We know what exactly are we looking for. We can simply just put it through a simple search engine, and we can put those filters, and all of that can be completely taken away, and we will do far more high value adding work where I'm only interacting with X percentage of people who've already been scanned through basis my past learning. But one thing that stuck me after, and I was the TA lead at that time, that I am getting more of the same. I am not adding anybody who's probably not in the organization already. So it actually bypassed, it somewhere showed a lot of discrimination from an age perspective. I was not getting any profile of somebody in late 40s or 50s because somewhere we didn't have any past precedents.
Would you also throw some light on this issue of seeing is believing? What we see, how sure we are that it is true, and how much should one believe on that? Because there are a whole lot of people who believe whatever is there, true or false. So how do we sift that?
I think it's very in the hurry to respond or in the hurry to find answers, we quickly run away. And even in my capacity, if I have to turn around something overnight or something, I'll just put some of those things, those references out there for either Chat GPT or Copilot or many of those tools that are available to find me answers. I have also, in smaller capacities, in my own projects, assignments that we do, I have found a lot of answers, interpretations of facts which were overseen. And unless you do a little bit of double click yourself and be very, very sure what it's throwing up is validated, I think I faltered multiple times when I started using it. So I have become far more aware. So I'm not blindly trusting a lot of data sources which put me to solutions which were probably far away from the real outcome. So I think we are evolving. Some of these basic things will get corrected. I'm sure there is so much money these big tech firms have put out there to get the model right and to get a lot of those preliminary things right. But where I think, and I'm sure we will evolve in this discussion, how do we become more responsible in usage? Because the reliance on past trends is much more than what we don't even know. So that's where the human ingenuity will come into play, and we will have to continue to use humans what they are meant to do and not rely entirely on something. Today it's AI, tomorrow it will be something else. Before we become familiar with AI, I think something else will supersede, which we don't even know, and the precision of that will be far better than what we have today. So I think it has to be a fine balance, and we have to continue to test what we are putting out to use, whether it's throwing meaningful outcomes or it's misleading us. Those are the things I would like to highlight.
आपका अपना startup है. So I would like to ask you, deepfake creation has become cheaper and faster. Are current detection technologies scaling at the same pace as this generative technology?
Okay, so I want to say in one word first, no. And so like let me just go back and share one thing around deepfake, and maybe more on that part of what that problem is and why. Then I'll reach to that point that how we can solve it, at what stage we are now, and what do we need to do. So we need to see this problem as an intent versus tool. So AI is a tool that can do the work at a scale, at a very, very large scale. You can generate anything quickly at a very large scale. The problem is the folks, what are their intent is. If intent is bad, they will generate the bad result from AI. Then we need to solve both the problems. It's not only the tool problem, it's also the problem of the intent of the people as well. Now, when I go back to the tool, when we solve both the problem, then we can see we can work towards reducing deepfake. Deepfake is just one problem. If you think about robotics, if robotics will have AI in the future, And if the folks who are generate robot having a bad intent, they can do lot more damage. Now, how we can solve it? So we have to solve it at a various levels. One is that government regulation should be there. We can't do anything without that. Now anyone can generate AI. Like there has to be a regulation. The regulation can be at the speed of AI as well to lower down the speed. As Sir said, do we have the tool that we can kind of detect or stop deep fake? We are not at that stage now, as the tools are growing at a very fast stage now. So the one point is the regulation. The second point is more from tech side. There are tools like AI watermarking. Due to that tool, we know whether this is generated by AI or human. And then we need to build the tools like that also, which company built it, so that we can trust companies as well. We can trust agents as well. And there are tools like C2PA that's more around cryptographic, where we know.
So what you are effectively saying is that detection shall always lag creation. Is that the conclusion I take from what you're saying?
So far, I feel if regulations won't come, and I'll say that we are not doing good in that phase, and if regulations won't come, then we will lag.
All right. So when he talks of regulation, so let me ask you. I mean, what kind of regulation could things like watermarking, content provenance, or AI labeling realistically work in the internet space, or there has to be a greater governance from the part of the regulators?
So when it comes to governance, people think that this is the analogy I give. If you want to accelerate AI, right? For an acceleration, look at if you're driving a car, you have to accelerate, you need brakes. You can't accelerate without a brake. Same thing applies to the governance and the AI. And when you come to governance, it has to be responsible governance. And we know that it is always chore police. Police is always chasing the chore. It's not the other way around. So the world is, that means the technology is accelerating so fast that people are still figuring out what kind of rules and regulations and policies we need to bring in. And that's taking time because everyone is learning. It is like a pandemic coming all of a sudden, right? For us to deal with it. And that is where in terms of, we need to see what is the societal impact of the governance, what is impact in terms of education, what is impact on the, the business. It is not one simple angle where you have a ready-made solution. So we had to be very carefully designing that, because if you look at how the whole education is going to impact or the business is going to impact, with whatever those slight regulations, if you're not even careful, and that can create a lot of disaster. So still people are looking at what is the impact it's going to create from that AI which is coming, and how are these kind of regulations, and every business has its own complexity. I worked in medtech, I've worked in consulting, I worked in banking. So you can't just say that this is regulation which applies every industry. So you need to be very careful in terms of how you bring in these controls based on how it's going to create the impact on each of these businesses.
So let me ask you, sir, that that it has been said that, well, yes, deepfake is going to be there, and there are going to be bad elements who are going to keep creating it. So, who should be legally accountable for the harmful AI generated misinformation? The model creators, platform providers, content creators, or distributors?
I will basically, as organization, we deal in the citizen services, and it's a day-to-day affair for us. So I will take 2 minutes to tell you about how it benefits us and how these things we take care while managing that. We are into visa services, and we process millions of applications every day. One side, AI has really helped us to cut the cycle time. Like single application processing, we used to take 30 minutes, 35 minutes for us, and it has come drastically to 10 minutes, right? So that in the same day, I can manage more application on that front. Now, I will see the adverse part of it. Now, let's say any visa, you have to fill up application, you have to attach lots of forms with respect to that, depending on country to country. Now, citizens of lots of country do what they do. They will, some of the documents are obviously genuine. Some of the documents they will generate through the AI, right? On the system itself, right? While they are applying, system will not come to know. Obviously, the application will be accepted. Like that's why we are saying the tool has to be there to detect those. So we have faced day-to-day challenges. If I say my acceptance of application earlier used to be 60%, now the acceptance of application has gone more than 90%. So 90% of the people are putting up the documents which are required for the visa to be processed on that. But actually, while those people come to the center, and if we don't use the tools to detect those, like my friend was saying that there has to be tools, we have to develop those tools. Obviously, yes, day in, day out, our technology teams are saying either it has to be watermarks or it is the AI is there or not. We found that 25 to 30% people are using those AI generated documents into this. That's the challenge we are facing. Like sir asked that whether who is the responsible. Sir, it's very difficult to identify at this stage who is responsible on that, because this information spreads so fast, right? We are into the social era. Something is generated, right? That in minutes it is with everyone. So obviously, yes, we have to have a governance rules in place, and it has to be country specific, industry specific, and very effective controls have to be put in. For example, if someone is using use some documents, AI generated documents or the fake documents on that part, right? So this has to be to be banned, or maybe some actions. Control till the time it's not there, so that will not be useful for us.
So, detection is going to lag behind generation. Who should be held accountable is a question mark. तो मैं आप लोगों से ये पूछना चाहता हूँ कि do I take it that in a democracy like India, we are going to continue to have this problem, and is it that a controlled environment is better to prevent the kind of misinformation which can be spread by the deep fakes of this world? I mean, any of you can take this question.
In my view, sir, there has to be a control environment. Yes, AI, we should use it from the to improve my business processes. All organizations are having the business processes. All those can be improved in a in our organization we call it AI is a multiplier. Either it's a multiplier if you are doing the good things, it is again a multiplier. But it is a multiplier in the bad side also. If it is something has gone wrong and the organization trust and the reputation you have built for a number of years, right? One wrong thing can put the entire reputation and the trust you have built for the organization and go to the drains. So we have to put, as a from an organization point of view, very good governance principles, governance practices, and the control mechanism. That's my take on that.
Just to build on this, I think you can't put the ownership in someone else, right? So we know that as the future evolves, and as you know that the automobile industry, how it is becoming more of an autonomous cars. In a situation, and autonomous cars is purely AI based, right? It's going to be driven. Do you put the onus if something goes wrong, an accident happens? Do you say that it's a car maker's fault or the owner who is buying the car, is at fault? So these situations arise, and that's where the responsibility and ownership have to be defined. And the way the things are just scaling up, you can't just pass on these response. That's where the governance and the rules and regulations, as a pointing out, how do you really bring into these things across various industries? So automobile is one example. Similarly in medtech, how you are implementing those things and who owns that if something goes wrong. Same thing in the corporates. Someone is building a tool, AI tool, and someone is executing the tool. So should we make accountable if something goes wrong for the person who's executing the tool or the person who created the tool? And this debate can go on unless you commonly agree that one have to really look at these elements in holistic, because every situation is different and you can't generalize the situation is what I'm saying. So whether the industry of visa processing or something else, we need to be very careful in designing these. If not, that will also be a derailer to the acceleration of AI. And there is always these kind of transformations. There is always an opportunity to do good and bad. It's also boils down to what is the intention you are really using the tool for, and how are you building the trust factor in the industry you're working as. I think these things really matter.
I think AI is helping us fast track a lot of things that we used to do, the testing and then prototyping and then moving on, understanding very, very deep personalized consumer sentiments also. Every industry is using it day in and day out. Today I'm receiving, I'm sure all of us sitting in the room keep getting reached out by people we would have never been, even browsing ourselves. That is because my information is all out there. Whether I want it or not, some of the people who shouldn't be having that access also has that access. That's a very deep personal example that I'm sharing. Another, I think the other point of view I have, while the generic use cases, I'm sure people are adapting very fast, moving on. But the ones where the implications are very, very sharp, whether it is the medical industry or airlines, where people are taking decisions basis what has happened in scale proportion and building more of that. I have a very deep personal example which I'm going to share here. I think a lot of initial diagnosis for a lot of frequently occurring diseases is completely by put it in the tool. These are the initial stats of this doctor. This is the prescribed thing, and a lot of hospitals are running like machine. They will admit you in no time. They'll complete the procedure. The outcome is not their responsibility, because most of the patients with this kind of stat were recommended this treatment, and then the outcome in 99% cases was favorable. I'm okay to risk it for the balance 1% or 2%, whatever it is, because that person doesn't belong to me. I had a very, very personal experience of this kind with my father, and unfortunately I ended up losing him. I did my own research post the whole thing. There were certain things which I'm sure which were very unique to his medical history, which were completely overlooked, because most of the other statistics which recommended a certain kind of treatment is what everybody went for in a hurry, because everybody is out there. And I think it's very fast to move on with data available, with past trends available. We can move on very fast with a prescribed set of actions. And that is where I think a fair balance of using data insights, these tools, and also bringing in the human ingenuity and taking a little bit of pause before you implement something, or whether it's drug testing, wherever the implication is of very high value to either to human life or just at scale to anything. I think people have to have far higher responsibility, whether it is the tool maker, whether it is the developer or the person using it. I think all of them have to take accountability, because we are dealing in some situations, we are actually dealing with people. It is not just and even the food, the consumer industry is also going insane, reading out trends, whom should I be catering to more of, and fast launch this product here, there, blah and blah, and all of that is going on. I think people have to take a little bit more accountability for, I mean, responsible growth, where any industry who's going out all out there looking at some of these tools and adopting very fast in the hurry to win the race, I think they need to be held accountable with greater responsibility for the betterment of everyone.
So I'll say first thing, control environment should be there. Like, that's for sure. So, like, we can see it is very simply like this. Businesses want more revenue. Individuals want more income. That's it. Means they want to work as per what's regulated or not, and if the regulations will not be there and environment will not be controlled, then it will be like this. Businesses will find a way to get more revenue only. That's it.
Thank you. But there are a whole lot of people here, to the common man. आपने बहुत अच्छा एग्जाम्पल दिया, पर्सनल एग्जाम्पल फॉर रिस्पॉन्सिबल एआई. लेकिन जो बहुत सारे लोग हैं, कैन यू क्विकली टेल कि व्हाट आर द टूल्स वन शुड यूज टू सिफ्ट आउट झूठ फ्रॉम सच? ये मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन जो इतना एआई के कारण फैल रहा है, उससे बचने का कोई तरीका आप बता सकते हैं टू ऑल द ऑडियंस सिटिंग ओवर हियर?
Sir, it's very too early to say on that part, but obviously as organization, I can talk some of the controls we have put into the organization and some of the tools we are using while scanning those documents. Firstly, I will give you example of again our industry. We implemented the online services where visa can be given online. We interview everything, we do that, but courtesy AI, we have to stop it. We said now it is mandatory, you have to come to face to our visa centers, right? 2-3 things. Obviously, even some of the cases we have seen that person is not there, who is there sitting on that side, right? It's that kind of a difficult situations we were in. And now documents while they are there. So human behavior also we study on that. Like ma'am is from HR, she will agree on that. While people enter, we see whether the document he or she is carrying from the body language itself, our people can say this is he's carrying fake or the original documents on that. Then obviously there are some of the tools are created like in the industries are available to test the documents whether this is a AI generated or not. So these things we have put in place, but this whether this is the right thing or not, it's very difficult to judge at this point of a time, because AI from a generation point of view, it's going too fast I will say. But whereas from control perspective, very less number of tools are there, and very less number of organizations are working to build those kind of tools. We are in a situation at this stage. Obviously, time may come, there may be very good tools, they can identify easily or so fast than the pace the AI is generating the documentation. That time may come, but at this stage, so that AI generation is much faster, whereas the controls are a little bit of a lagging behind it.
Yeah, I agree with you on this, right? So for example, a lot of the recruitment companies and HR talent acquisition teams, they're using these resume scanners, right? That's AI tools. And it's only a word-to-word match. Unless you meet the candidate, you really don't know whether that real skill exists or not. So we need to be very responsible in terms of using this. And that's other challenge why some of these scanning tools also fail. Because it's only matching a word to word, not to skill. And that is where people are also struggling. So I think it's still a long way to learn as we figure out. And that's where I tell people that let's not lose the real intelligence. As much as people say AI is there to, exist in the world, humans are there, and AI is to help humans, not the other way around. So I think we need to be continuously learn ourselves and see how best we can really leverage this new technology.
Sure. Shwetaji, you started by saying that whenever you see something on the net, you verify, re-verify it by running it through. So would you
Personal
like to
use
throw some more
always.
light on that?
I think I'll just build on the example he gave. So Domino's has a fleet of 30,000 people. It is not possible for me to interview. Just imagine the conversion rate. If I start doing that, then 24 hours will also be not enough for me to hire people. So I have to use tools. So initial preliminary screening of a lot of basic facts, whether it is education. And let me talk about the riders is a big fleet as well for us because we are majorly a delivery org. And in that, I think the most common thing is whether the rider knows to drive also or not. In our country, unemployment is very high. People can just do whatever, they can write whatever, they can send somebody else also. So tomorrow if something happens on the road, or if there's an incident that happens with the consumer, it is my responsibility as an organization. I'm sending somebody to somebody's door. So we have actually put in a lot of controls. We are only in the process. I'm not saying we are 100% foolproof. Like everybody else said, there aren't controls is where I think we need to get deeper. I think solutions have come faster than we needed, but controls are not there. Two, three things that we do, at least the DLs that people are submitting, the tool is scanning, taking everything. That tool does not give me accuracy of the document being fake or not. So we actually have put a few people only to validate the DL numbers with the government approved websites, whether these are right or not. That much we can do before we put somebody on the shift. That is every restaurant manager's responsibility. Even if there are 20 people coming into the store to deliver that day, that has to be checked. The second thing for criminal records, etc., Aadhaar verification is the other thing that we mandate. These are smallish controls. I'm still not 100% foolproof. But we are trying to do whatever we can do in our capacity. And this is a very small example. It is happening in every phase of life. People, even very, very senior people are putting through documents, information. These are still very bottom of the pyramid people. Their needs are far different from what some of us sitting in the room may have. But if people at the top can also do some of those things, I think the mistrust is everywhere. And hence, I think I take personal responsibility, at least for the first layer and below. I am not approving anything basis somebody's recommendation unless I have personally conducted fair set of checks before I bring in anybody in the organization. It's my personal responsibility. So I think in all our capacities, use tools, trust the people, and do your own checks before you implement everything. What is a reference check? As much as we can do, but also continue to audit and test throughout the implementation also. Whether it's doing what it was meant to do or it is throwing up something which is unthinkable. It is very, very much possible. I've experienced it in multiple scenarios.
Thank you. So then I'll say it from two side. So one is that as an indie visual, we should watch or read content from verified sources only, as there can be any. I have not seen any tool so far that can say, hey, this is genuine, that's fake with a surety. So maybe now we have so much to read and watch. Maybe on medium.com we can just follow few folks. On YouTube, let's just follow few folks only, not just watch randomly anything else. There's no foolproof way. And number two, from business side, if we have to check, we worked with few banks to check whether these documents that they have got are genuine or not. So there we have tools like using OCR plus LLM and so on and so forth. That's mainly to solve a business problem in a way that data or the docs that they are getting that genuine or not. For that we can have the our own rules to do that.
One last question to all of you. You can say that going forward, which is maybe 3 years, 4 years, 5 years from now, which is the deep fake related risk which you all really see is going to affect all of us in a big way? And is there any way that we can build upon it to see that, well, yes, we sort of work towards preventing it? The biggest risk with respect to deep fake.
So I think the deep fake is the human cloning. Um, it's very, very difficult, and there is a word called synthetic cloning happening. You can't really figure out on screen which is real you or your replica. And I'll give you my recent example. A month back, we all are on social media, and I'll give you this real-time example so that you all can connect. People saw my designation, CEO of X company, and then I got a call from WhatsApp from my CEO who is in US. Right? Luckily, I was so lucky because I know that he was not in US. He came to visit, and he's with me in the next room in the hotel. And I get a WhatsApp call with his voice, with his picture, because they picked his picture from the LinkedIn profile, right? And I get a call, and I realize I know that the guy is sleeping. Why will he call me in this time? Because I know that luckily he's here. So these risks are, you need to be very smart in terms of figuring out and using our own, the real intelligence. And that's what I'm saying, that we are too much depending on the artificial intelligence. Let's not lose our human intelligence. And today we talk about AI, tomorrow we might talk about BI or CI, but I is constant. And that I is where we need to focus, right? Especially for the students, right? We quickly jump on, if someone asks, we quickly jump now. Earlier days we used to Google, now it is ChatGPT. So ChatGPT has replaced Google. And we are also replacing our human mind with artificial intelligence. So that becomes like we become more, unreally dependent. So the reason I'm giving this real example of which I experienced is that sometimes we also need to use our logic, right? Logical mind. What is logical mind saying? And especially in the leaders in the organization who is approving payments, right, the CFO and all, we used to get emails saying that, or a call, oh, this is the vendor you pay. Those are the fake emails. Can you not figure it out? Some people respond. We do a lot of these, IT teams in every organization, sends the spam emails and say that, okay, how many people have attempted to respond to those spam emails? So there's a lot of education still required. So to your point, sir, I think it's still a learning phase for everyone. But again, time is running out. We all need to learn from these experiences. In the last few years, or if you look at the data, in terms of the digital fraud arrests, how many people have lost money? It is nothing to do with falling for those things, because if you are not applying that, is it really a digital arrest? Why are we falling for it? Because we are really not, thinking more logic, and we are falling for dependency on too much of dependency on the machines. That is a very important, thing for us to really avoid, given that where the world is going.
But these are all scary situations. I mean, last conclave that we had, there also there was a similar kind of example which was given, that, well, yes, there is a video call, somebody talks like your father, the face is also of your father, and I mean, they can ask your bank passwords, they can ask for anything, and how is it that you're going to save yourself from these kinds of situations? I mean, would any of you suggest any answers, or we just hope that, well, we are smarter and use our human intelligence better?
I think trust deficit will become so big in the world around us, and I will perhaps start doubting my own competence. I will feel that the machine is far more competent than myself, and whether I should be doing what I'm doing, or should I just. That's my biggest fear personally, and I'm very scared for generations to come. I see my kids like huge reliance on, okay, I'll do this assignment, I'll just upload everything there, I'll get the answers. How will they even develop a perspective which is their own? Is my biggest fear. For myself to retain that belief in myself, and for generations to come to have that thinking mindset themselves, because their reliance for answers is barely on themselves. It is for everything but their own mind. That I think is going to be the biggest to me, that is a big risk that we run as a human race. And how do we ensure that we are able to create an environment where people continue to have an experience where they are putting themselves out there for experiences and using their own mind, and that's how they'll be able to distinguish. Today we are even having this debate because we've seen a life where we were doing a lot of this ourselves, and hence we are able to distinguish. But for generations to come, they'll not have a perspective. So it's going to be very hard. So hence I personally have ensured, again a very personal example, my kids are always outdoors. They don't have time for screen. I have made such mundane things for them every day. There's no choice. Otherwise, I think tomorrow they'll not understand what they have to. I mean, they'll not have a perspective only on anything. For anything there is Google, but for money today they come to me. Tomorrow I don't know where they'll go. So that's my biggest fear for my own kids and for many others around us.
So then, like, the way I see deep fake future is as well. So you can see it like this: the way you spend your day from the morning to night. So few hours you spend like virtually on a call, or say watching or reading anything on your phone, and few hours you go to a place like a place. So the scary part is that if someone else is doing a few things in place of you, that deep fake is mainly like that. And the most scary part is that in future, like if we can get like robots like you, and going to the places you are not going, these are the most scary parts. But so maybe what we can do now, as ma'am said as well, the more of our data is out on the cloud, on internet, the more we are not safe. If we will be less on the devices and more in the real world, then I feel that we will be more safer than.
So, thank you very much, all the panelists. I think the net conclusion that we have come to this: beware of deepfake and keep your data safe. I mean, this is the best way to protect yourself from deepfake. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you.
We're going to open up. Hello. We're going to open up the session for 4 questions precisely because we are running out of time. So I'm going to open up the house for 4 questions. So anybody who would like to ask a question, the mic is around. Please get up and please feel free to ask anything that you would like to ask. Anybody in the audience who would like to ask a question? Yeah. Can we pass the mic?
Hello. Sir, my question is to the panel. Since it is becoming from labor intrinsic market to the technology intrinsic market due to the effects of AI, so the only solution for us is to develop or learn AI tools. What other solutions can we develop, or what other solutions are we having so that we can develop our skills? Thank you.
So that's a very good question. I think very relevant for everyone. This is what I tell people, that don't just focus on learning a technology. Today the technology A will come and something else will keep on changing. My advice to everyone is learn the business, because business will exist in its form. So for example, if it's a banking business, The lending will continue to happen. How the business is going to run will change. But the core businesses will exist. So what students you should learn is, what are these each of these businesses? And keep on, everyone in an organization doesn't need to be just a tech. There is any technology which is coming, there is a creator, there is also implementer or user, I call it. So you need to decide that whether you want to become a user or you want to be a creator. And along with that knowledge of the technology, it's very, very important, as I keep on mentioning, about the business context. Whether it is an insurance business, the banking business, or whatever the business you are going to work, that knowledge is very, very essential, and not just it running behind the technology.
So then, sorry. So like, I have been using this AI tools now a lot, and then what I have realized, like, there are three things mainly nowadays that we all should have. One is aptitude, is like, how fast you can understand business problem and how fast you can learn as well. That's the skill that we should be having, because now we will reach to a world where there will not be roles like this, say junior role, then a manager, then a senior manager, and so on and so forth. A lot of middle management is going away as well. So then, say in the 1 year of work X only, you will be given a very large problem to solve. So if you are having aptitude to learn quickly, the number two thing is being curious, and that's linked to the first point as well, where you just want to know business, the domain, the stack that's being used, and if that's not there, it's really hard. And the third thing is that I have found in very less folks is ownership. Cause most of the folks are doing job just for the sake of doing. If you really own problem कि यार ये करना है तो करना ही है, 2 दिन में होना है तो होना ही है, मतलब if you have that कि 2 दिन बोल दिया तो 2 दिन में होना तो होना ही है. I think that's the skill very less people have. If you will have this, you will win surely.
It's more of a comment than a question.
Michael, one second, I think Michael.
But you can hear me, I suppose. Throat is good, I suppose. Acha, sorry. Hello, good evening all, good afternoon and good morning all. It was a lovely discussion, we had a lovely exchange. So, itna information, I just want to have more of a suggestion than a question. I think we all should have some codes in this, like anybody can have a fake call, I can get a fake call suddenly, it couldn't be my mother, it couldn't be my wife, it could be my spouse. I think we all should get, just a suggestion, we should have our unique code. Let's say I take a code, it's not actually there, nobody can misuse it. If I say 22, if somebody is calling, some deepfake comes, we should have a code. This code can distinguish you suddenly. The way you said, somebody gave a call his boss, and your boss was in that hotel itself. It was just a coincidence, it's not your intelligence, sorry to say that. Otherwise, you would also got implicated 100% for sure. So we all should be having certain codes, near and dear ones. Let's say 13, 14, if my daughter is calling me, I say, what is your code? It may not be, because voice can be very easily generated. I did some AI course, so I can see everything can be done very easily. I can clone anybody if I feel like. But I'm not into that anti kind of a social element that will do such a thing. So I think it's more of a comment. We all should be having code. Young generation is there. 13, 21 or whatever code you can generate. If you're calling to me, you have a code so I can recognize. So nobody can, there's a lot of bank stealing, a lot of other stuff can happen. Just a comment, so sorry. So this is a basic thing. I think the basic tool, we can all get saved. Baki, God is with us. We can lose anything any day. God bless. Thank you. And lovely discussion.
Kheda sir, 007 is already taken. Can he?
I have a question to Shweta ma'am.
Sir Mike.
Am I audible? Yes. So just 2 days back, the digital intermediary guideline was amended by the government to take down the deepfake from 36 hours to 3 hours, and the great people what we are, there was immediate hue and cry and backlash from the media that how can platforms take down deepfake in 3 hours. So this is the way we are. There is a proposal and we start opposing it. My point is, there are very well established enterprise tools which I use in my own organization. I work in SCL and I teach also here. Like Instant, the pin drop, which can detect the synthetic voice very effectively. There are open source public tools like Deepware to identify and watermark the deepfake video. My question to you is as the way two of the major telecom players in the country, that is the Airtel and Jio, 6 months back or 8 months back started identifying the spam calls. If the government orders to embed these tools like Winston, Deepware, pin drop as part of the platforms, because there will be a backlash. Why I give the example of this 3-hour takedown? Because immediately the people who get affected, they create their own ecosystem to push back. What do you think? There are specific technical measures to identify a synthetic voice call, a deepfake video, which a lot of tech people are using. Embed it in the public domain platforms. Do you think such a measure will succeed? The European Union AI Responsibility Act 2024, which is kicking in after a few months in EU, just give you an example. We're talking about autonomous vehicles. Some of the member countries of EU have shifted the onus of a autonomous vehicle causing accident to insurer, not to the AI developer or to the manufacturer, and certainly not to the driver. So there's a lot of debate going on the technology and the policy guidelines of it. Wanted to know your view, if any one of you can, you think that what I'm saying makes some sense or it will not work in India.
So you rightly said that there has to be some governance should come into the place from the government side, and government is already working on it. And we mentioned earlier also, it has to be industry specific. Like from a telecom point of view, this static voice or all videos, fake videos are there. So it will take time, but yes, government is also seeing how the other countries are making it, like European Union or all those, because we follow most of the stuff is they made the GDPR, we came up with the DPDP Act, right? So that similarly they are waiting for it. Once this happens, but again our request is why we are meeting those people is first make it industry specific, because every different industries require AI governance in a different way. Like if I make customer services, it will be different. It's a telecom, it has to be totally different kind of a controls and mechanism has to be put in place. You are right, it has to be there. Otherwise, like we all agree on that, it आने वाला time बहुत मुश्किल होने वाला है.
All right, one last question, guys.
A very good morning, sir. To when all present. So my question would be more of in a political scenario. So we know that sovereign AI is in the trend right now. We all talk about sovereign AI and how local languages, local softwares being developed in all our country are being processed in this era. So I think that how much we are talking about sovereign AI, we are heavily dependent on foreign private companies, because most of our data clouds that are present with AWS, Google, Microsoft, they are present in foreign lands. So this summit, the Responsible AI Summit, I would like to question just one thing, that how it would make us responsible as Indians to be more of a domestic controlled environment and not a foreign controlled environment.
Yeah, like you are pretty right on this, and that's a good thing that you have asked as well. So like when we see the world too, since 1980s, US had been building like major tech, be it the starting of like PCs, then internet, then cloud, then mobile, then AI as well. The only change that we have seen is China. Like, they won smartphone game, and like, they won it really well. And how they have won that game, government played a really big role. Government is giving lot of like subsidies as well, like, where the chip cost they used to have very low, so that they can sell a 10,000 smartphone doing really well. And like, they have banned foreign players, so that they can they can like, build these things on their own. But India, like, now I see, I work really deeply in that. I speak to a lot of VCs and a lot of like, Indian startups as well. So the way we are heading now is that we are just using foundational models built by US firms, be it Gemini, Chat GPT, and so on and so forth. So the way we are doing now is that we are just building a wrapper over that, and wanted to build our own products as a wrapper only, and want to sell within India or outside. And there are very few firms like um, Sarvam AI who are trying to build in house. So like, but there's not so much help from government side now. Like, that's very unfortunate, but like, that's being there. So in my view, that we should invest maybe 100 billion USD nearly in AI, in building our own foundational models. Then I'll see there's a chance. Else, in next 10 years, we will build firms like Infosys, Wipro, who will be just giving services around AI.
Thank you everyone. Can we have a round of applause for all the panelists? Can I request Sumani sir to please felicitate all of them? So can we have the memento, please, for Mr. Sandeep? So thank you so much. Can we have the next one, please? Thank you so much. Sir. Thank you, sir, and thank you all the panelists. I think we have had a great insight into how we should be probably navigating in these challenging times. And, sir, ma'am, for one photograph, please. And how all of us need to be ultra careful while we proceed on, both in our lives as well as in our careers.